here we are today. Our country is experiencing attacks. We have Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. I did a radio interview this morning, and the radio host said that he called him Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. But here, this guy has dedicated himself to destroying Israel and destroying the United States. So we have attacks from the outside, and at the same time, we have attacks from the inside. We have our morals, our marriage, our families are being attacked. This is a time that we need to stand up. And you know, one of the things and some of you that have heard me talk before, I like to end with this, that someday you're going to be dead. I don't know if you knew that. I hate to shock anybody. But nobody's escaped death yet. And imagine when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, with no less days to sing his praise than when we just begun. Imagine being in heaven 10,000 years. Maybe you get a chance to meet Moses. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Maybe Moses will invite you over to his place. You know, there's a scripture where Jesus said, in my Father's house are many mansions. So Moses, I bet, will probably have a pretty nice place. He'll probably have one of those big fireplaces where the logs don't burn out. Get it? The burning bush didn't burn up, you know. I heard one preacher say, in heaven, you'll travel as fast as you think, and I'll probably show up late. My wife will say, where were you? I don't know. I was thinking about something else. But imagine being in a big room, sort of like tonight, and you're on the edge of your seat, and you just can't contain yourself because right across the table, there's Moses. And you say, look, Moses, what was it like? I mean, I read the story, and I saw the movie, but here you are in person. And Moses will stand up, and he'll be like Dad Clark. He'll stand up, and the room will get quiet, and he'll say, well, you know, I was 80 years old, and Pharaoh and his chariots, the most powerful military in the world, were charging in at us, going 30 miles an hour with these razor-sharp swords, and they were just going to slice us to ribbons. And I held out my staff, and I said, God, use me to deliver your people. And the waves came in and swallowed up Pharaoh's chariots. And we're going to say, wow. Then we're going to look around the room and see David. I said, David, tell us the story. I mean, you're the guy. And he's going to say, well, you know, I was just 17 years old. And this thug Goliath was mocking our God and mocking our religion. And these grown-ups stood around for 40 days too afraid to do anything about it. And I said, I didn't know all that fancy learning, but I knew how to use my little sling. And I went out and hit him in the head and chopped his own head off. And one by one, all the great saints of old are going to tell their stories. You know, Gideon and Samson and Jephthah and Deborah and the Apostle Paul and all of them. And then the room will get quiet. Everybody's going to look at you and say, we haven't heard your story yet. Tell us, what was going on earth when you were there? What were they saying about God? What were they saying about the 10 Commandments that God gave to Moses, or the baby that God knew in the mother's womb, or marriage that God instituted in Genesis? What did you do? You know, I'd hate to squirm in my seat and say, call on somebody else. Let me think about it. You know, or I'd switch the channel when those girls came on and threw a couple bucks in the offering. You know, I'd hate for any of us to see a big screen come down and the Lord to say, and you see all kinds of great things happening and miracles happening and all this kind of stuff. And he says, you know, this is what you could have done if you'd have been just a little more sold out to me. And to realize you can't go back to do another thing for him. You know, Moses is always going to be known for standing up to Pharaoh. David's always going to be known for killing Goliath. And you're always going to be known for what you are doing right now. God's left you here for a purpose. This is the day and the hour. God, throughout history, always seems to wait till things look hopeless, until he raises up a little nobody, somebody who's small in his own eyes, but has faith and courage to stand up, and God uses them to do miracles. And right now, you are that person. Thank you for letting me be with you tonight. God bless you.